PhD in biomedical engineering, and today we're going to be talking about how to write a compelling statement of purpose. I have not talked about anything admission in a while, and I believe that my admission audience, and I owe them an apology for just disappearing from the admission areas for a while. Now, I'm deciding to do admission related contents for the next 4 weeks because we are in the admission season. And what I mean by we're in the admission season is that the intake for September for most countries are on right now. So for people who are looking for PhD scholarships, master scholarships to start next year, September, this is the prime time to apply. You should have your documents together at this point, and hopefully you are sending out applications already. If you have not started sending out applications and you want full scholarship for PhD, for masters for September 2024, you need to start now. This is the prime time for September 2024 admissions. And today I want to share some of my experiences with you. As you all know, I went to school. I got a PhD and from University of Saskatchewan, all fully funded. I also did my master's without paying a penny. And I have supported over 1,000 people to go on this journey. And the statement of purpose is a very critical document that you have to submit if you're trying to apply for full funding. Today, I want to dissect and help you understand how do I write a compelling statement of purpose if I'm trying to get a fully funded scholarship, a fully funded program. Today, I'm going to focus a little more on PhDs, but these rules are applicable for master's scholarship as well. And I'm going to be focusing a lot on research-based masters. And research-based masters, research-based PhD will be my focus. And the reason for that is because majority of the funding available on the market focuses on research. Yes, there are some non-research-based funding, but it's so small. It's like 3% of 100%. So we want to focus on research-based program. And I want to hear from the comment section where you're joining us from today, and say hi to me. My name is Dr. Adi again. I want to hear where you're joining from, and thank you again for being here. Now, there are 5 things that I want to talk about today, 5 things that when I'm writing a statement of purpose, I always have to define. I'm going to speak from an immigrant perspective today. I'm going to sit on this side, which is as a professor, as an examiner, what will I want to see? And I'm also going to step in your shoes as someone who is in another country. Maybe people refer to it as a third world country. Maybe you are in Ghana, Nigeria, you are in India, or wherever you're listening from. That usually they perceive it as a third world country. How would you make sure that you make a case for someone to look at you and say, you know what, I'm going to give you scholarship? Now, the first thing I always say has to be the foundation. Hi, everybody. I see Daniel joining from Lagos. Hi, Daniel. And hi, joining from Abuja, watching from Nigeria. Thank you all for being here, and I appreciate you joining. Also, there are 5 things I usually say has to go into that SOP. The first paragraph, or the first 2 paragraphs, is where you actually try to convince me why you want a PhD or why you want to do a master's. So you need a compelling narrative which you want to use to show anyone who is reading why you want to do this. And this why you want to do this should have nothing to do with, when I was a child or anything related to that. You don't want, somebody from Mokola, Ibadan, that's where I was born and grew up. My regards to my people in Mokola, and thank you for joining. And anytime I see somebody joining from Mokola, you know what that means. It brings back the memory. And I'm a proud Ibadan girl, so thank you all for joining. All right, back to what I was explaining. Having a very compelling narrative. Why do you want a PhD? You have to be able to articulate that. And I've read thousands of SOP, and I would see something about when I was a child and when I was this. You are not supposed to start with that. You are hoping to connect your past experience, and whether it's your education, your work experience in the past, you want to connect it to tell a story of where your future is going. So I want to ask you, so if you're one of those people who says, I'm looking for scholarship today and all of that, why do you want a scholarship? Why do you want to do a PhD? Why do you want to do a master's? Should precede this. Now, I will tell you this. If I want to get a PhD today, I'm going to combine a few things. I will start my story by talking about, so if I want to do a PhD today, it's going to be in medical physics, and my PhD is going to target using laser or any method to kill cancer. My only sister died because of cervical cancer. So if you're asking me why do I want to do a PhD, I will talk about my sister. I will talk about the fact that I'm a physicist. I will talk about the fact that I have loved physics all my life. But I will also talk about the fact that my only sister died of cervical cancer. Then I will cite the data to show that cancer has continued to kill people and we have not found solution to it till date. I will cite Nigerian data. I will cite the worldwide data on cancer as a problem in our world that has not been solved. And that means I have a compelling narrative. I personalize that narrative about cancer, that I lost my only sister to cancer. I also talk about it in the broad sense with numbers showing for my country, this is the number of people who currently have different type of cancer. My sister died from cervical cancer. So I may focus on one type of cancer and talk about Nigerian numbers, and then I'll talk about the world at large. And if there are limitations, especially for cervical cancer, it affects Black women a whole lot more. I will emphasize that. So when you're starting your SOP, your first paragraph has to be a hook. You have to hook them. You have to tell them, why do I have to do this PhD? Why is this important? You want to show it that it is personal for you. It is something that is affecting our world, but it is personal for you. It may not be a personal family member died. It could be a story that is different. So before you write that SOP, I want you to sit down and say, what is my own compelling narrative? How will I connect my past experience to my present interest and my future aspiration? What is it that is important that is happening or has happened in my past? Like my own past was my sister died. What is the present? We continue to have cancer ravage our world with numbers. So I will cite the current number and the fact that cancer still have a cure. We still don't have no cure. So, and then what is the future? Is to find solution to cancer. I know many researchers around the world are working in this area, but I'm a Black woman. Black women have been affected more than everybody. Who is best to find solution, if not me, a Black person who can relate to it? So find your own compelling narrative. I want you to sit down as you think about your SOP to say, what's my past story? What has happened to me, a family member, a friend that is memorable that I can tie together with this? It could be in my workplace. And then presently, what is the current situation? With numbers, you have to have numbers. Be ready to do research about what is the number associated with this issue currently in our world. Then, any question on that? I want to make sure that this is interactive. We call this meeting, right? So I believe that some of the people who are on here are writing SOPs and you're trying to find your own compelling story. If you have questions regarding this first point, which is really compelling narrative, I want you to share it so that I can help you look at it. Now, I want to talk about the next thing, which is describe your research experience. If you're trying to get a PhD, for a PhD, it is expected that you are mature. Is either, for PhD, for the American populace, you can come from bachelor's to PhD. In the majority of the other countries, you have to have a master's before you can do a PhD. So you have to describe your experience. It is either your work experience, if you don't have research experience, but there was a work experience where you did something research-based that make it compelling for you to say, you know what, this compels me to want to do the research. You have to be able to talk about what you have done. So paragraph 2 is about you. What have you done? Research-wise, what type of research have you done? You want to be able to talk about that in such a way that it shows clearly that, okay, you have something that you've done. If you have one of those people who didn't have research experience, you have work, that is fine. So you want to talk about what you've done. And if I were in your shoes, so let's say it was when I have a master's degree. I've talked about my compelling story. Then I will talk about my master's degree. In my master's degree was in so area. It was in biomedical engineering with a focus on medical physics and instrumentation. And I could talk about some of the things that I have learned during my master's degree that I feel will be a good foundation. If I have done anything research-wise, I want to talk about it. If you have work experience, you want to talk about it. Now, you want to tie what you have done to your clear research interest and objective. You can't just say, okay, I haven't done anything. Yes, somebody died of cancer and I haven't done anything, but I want to do a PhD to solve it. No, what makes you the right fit is what you have done. It's either your work experience, some of the stuff you've done on that job, or is your research experience. You have done a master's, or you graduated with a first class, and some of the areas you have focused on in that bachelor's, you took some classes, you exceeded expectation, and they are prerequisite You want to state what you've done. Now, the third thing you want to make sure you clarify is your clear research interest and objective. This is where I feel a lot of Africans, I see them fall short. Right, this clear research interest, they will talk about, they will now start to talk about wanting a master's or a PhD in maybe mechanical engineering, or maybe they want it in environmental science. That is too broad. It's too broad. You want to make it a research interest, not a career or not a program. This is your third area. You have to have research. What are some serious research interests in my field? So I studied medical physics. Under medical physics, there are some areas. I just talked about research in cancer therapy, cancer treatment, right? There is still medical imaging. Under that medical physics, there is medical imaging, there is signal processing. There are so many different research interests under that career path. So you can't be looking for a master's in mechanical engineering. You have to pick a research interest, a particular area. You can't just say, I want a computer science master's. Pick a research interest in computer science. Maybe it is algorithm bias. Maybe your own is AI, with a focus on something, right? I want you to start to think, what is that research interest? Don't just pick, you don't have to pick one research interest. It could be two that are connected together. But you can't be very broad that I want a master's in mechanical engineering. That is too broad. So I want to ask you, do you know your research interest? What is the research interest? Yes, you are in mechanical engineering. Yes, you are in anatomy and physiology, and you want a PhD. In what area in particular? How do you pick this research interest? You can talk to a career coach. You can already just know this is what I want to do. Or it could be because you have been researching about various schools. We've looked at these various schools. You saw that the professors in that school, the professors are working in this area. Now you've picked the research interest based on what is available within the school you want to go. So let's say for you, you are really bent on, I have to attend University of Toronto, and your background is mechanical engineering. Then you want to look at mechanical engineering department for University of Toronto to see what research areas are the professors working on. Once you see those research areas, then you can pick your top two. These are the top two that I want. Then those become the research interests that you want to write about. So for most people, they don't have research interests. They write too broadly. When you write too broadly, when the committee looks at your SOP, it's too broad. They can't place you anywhere. But if you have research interest, don't also narrow it down to one person's research interest. Make sure it is it has 2 to 3 professors' research interests that you want to talk about, but they're very related. So that if the research interest 1, that professor doesn't have funding, research interest 2 that are very similar, that research area is very similar, the professor number 2 can see it and say, I can take on this student. So make sure that you define your research interest, make sure that you understand what's your objective, and make sure that it's not just one research interest. You have about 2 to 3 research interests that are very similar to one another. Now, this is why you can't use one statement of purpose and apply to 52 schools. Why? Because the schools don't have the same professors. University 1, their research interest can be 4 areas. Even if it's computer science, it's just 4 areas that they deal with. University 2, they do one of the 4 areas for University 1, but they have 3 new areas that their professors work in. Now, the SOP you use for school 1, if you use it for school 2, it's only one professor that can look at your application, because what they have in school 2 when it comes to research capacity is different from school 1. So it's very important for you to tailor each SOP. You have to tailor it to the school, to what they can offer you. So you can't just say, yeah, I have an SOP, Dr. Adi's team has drafted it for us, that's what, I'm just going to throw it everywhere. And then I didn't get a scholarship. This SOP is not good, because SOP has to be tailored to the school, what is available within that school when it comes to research interest. Then you tailor your objective towards that. I hope this is making sense to you. I want to hear some comments there so that I can know whether we are progressing well. Now, you have picked a research interest. So let's say there's these 2 research interests that I found, and I want to explain why I'm the right person to do it. You've talked about this research interest. You've explained why it's good. Why are you the right person to do it? You have to be able to show some things why you are the right person to do it. The first thing I usually say when you're trying to demonstrate why you are a good fit for the program, you start from the school. You want to say why that school is best for you. Why is this school the one I'm picking? Then you want to, and this is why I say to people, you have to contact the professor, connect with the professors. If you already connect with one or two professors, then it's easy to say why this is the school and this is the program. Oh, I have spoken to this professor. Oh, I have been in touch with this professor. You will be able to cite their name in your SOP because you've gotten in touch with them. And it could be, okay, you've gotten in touch with them, they didn't respond. But there are 3 professors, you've read their papers. You saw that you can connect your work to them. Then you can talk about how good the resources available within this university is. This is why you pick the school. This is why this is the place for you. And why are you the right person for this? Maybe some of the things you've done. Look, if you want to showcase yourself as somebody who wants to do a PhD, you have to show that you love research. You love research starts from where I've read the papers of the professors. And then you want to connect it with what you have done before. Oh, I read the papers, having gone through the portfolios of the professors within this university, I am thrilled to say that I found 3 professors, Professor 1, 2, 3, who are working in line with my research interest. Not only am I interested in the work they do, their work connects with my previous experience in this manner. Explain how their work connects with yours, because there has to be some sync. That is how they can see that, okay, this person can work here because I can advise this person. Remember that a PhD is a job. Nobody wants to hire somebody they cannot advise, somebody they don't need. You have to showcase that what that professor is doing, there is a connection with your work. You have some experience in that. You have some preparation that you've done. This helps them to see, I can advise this person. So the question to you is, as you try to throw your SOP around, have you gone to the department that you want to apply to look at the research interest of the professors? Have you tried to align your SOP with at least 2 to 3 professors' research interest? Have you reached out to these professors? Reach out to these professors, introduce yourself, send your portfolio, your resume and everything. If they respond to you, that's a jackpot. Then you indicate it on your SOP. When you're looking for scholarship, remember you're going to do research in most cases. Research requires passion. Research requires preparedness. Look, the final one. So align yourself, align with the program and the faculty. And this final one that I want to say, it's what breaks my heart a lot. Let me tell you, if you can't do research and you can't write, don't do a PhD. It's hard. The professors are looking for people who can do research. There are things that I can use to find out if you can do research. First of all, I want to know what type of tools do you know? What type of competences, technical tools, technical skills. So for example, I did my research in biomedical engineering and I did a lot of wet lab work. So it's expected that I know how to use optical microscopy, SEM. It's expected that I know how to use, I can do PCR, qPCR. It is expected that I can do data analysis because I'm going to collect data, I'm going to analyze the data, I'm going to present the data. It's a PhD. Project management. It's expected that you know how to manage project because a PhD is a project, a 4-year project, broken into sub-projects. You have stakeholders. You have to analyze the risk of your project. You have to have good quality output, so quality control is important. You have to show to that professor that I am prepared to do research. I have some understanding of the technical competencies that will help me do my job. If you're an employer, will you hire somebody who doesn't know the job? You can't. So PhD is not luck. PhD is a job. So what do you need to demonstrate? That you are a good fit for that job. By showcasing your technical competencies, by showcasing, you have to think about PhD. Project management is applicable to all PhDs. Data analysis is applicable to all PhDs. But technically, within that jurisdiction or within that PhD, there are still some very specific technical skills. Like I just explained some of my own technical skills for my own area. So you need to understand, what are these technical competencies that I can use to wow these professors for them to see that I'm prepared? Secondly, PhD requires that you write. A professor and the people in their team, they can teach you how to use a pipette. They can teach you qPCR. They can teach you a couple of things, but they can't teach you how to write. Nobody got time to be teaching you how to write. You have to be able to demonstrate that you can write. This is absolutely a deal breaker. How do you demonstrate that you can write? If your master's thesis, if you publish it, you have to be able to show that. Maybe you had gone to a conference, you need to be able to show the conference proceeding so that they can see how much of a writer you are. Oh, I have already finished my master's, I didn't write. You know what you can do? You can go and publish that master's degree with an academic publishing house in Europe or some other places. You can do that. So that your master's thesis can be publicly seen as a published material. It is important for you to be able to show a published material. Don't just say the master's is over. You can still publish it in academic publishing. Take your master's degree, take your bachelor's degree, publish it, because they have to see a writing sample. Nobody can hire you for a PhD if they don't see that you can write. It's critical to be able to write. Now, okay, I have published my thesis, but I need more writing sample. What can I do? Start writing opinions in newspapers. Write opinions in newspaper. Write about you are in dancing. Write about dancing in Nigeria. Write about how Afrobeat have affected our dances and how it is now global. Write about it. Send it to Punch newspaper. Ask them to publish it for you. Write about some of the work you're doing, and send it to different publishing houses. Be bold enough to do it, because you need a writing sample. If I'm a professor today, I cannot hire a student who cannot write. So it is important for you to have writing samples. Don't just publish your writing on LinkedIn. No. Write articles. No. I'm not taking LinkedIn. Take it to, so you belong to PMI, Project Management Institute. Send your article to PMI. Let them publish it for you. That is still academic. That is professional. Don't put it on LinkedIn. Package it well. Put some good numbers behind it. Put references. Send it to a conference as a conference proceeding. Be bold enough to do these things, because writing samples are very important. Your life depends on it. As Africans, I believe one thing: nothing is stopping you. The only thing stopping you is strategy. If you can pretty much put your strategy together, 1 second. The only thing stopping you is strategy. If you can put your strategy together to say, okay, this is my strategy. First of all, what is my compelling story? My compelling story, this is how I'm going to open my SOP. Secondly, what have I done in general? What have I done? What is the proof that I have? If I don't have proof, can I start to collate my proof today? And, thirdly, just think through, who are these people? Where did they come from? All of this. All right, let's just block all of these people that joined our live without being invited. All right, going back to what I'm explaining, it is important for you to think through an SOP. It's good to have an SOP template, but you can't use the same SOP for 5 schools. The professors in those schools are doing different things. Define your research interest. Don't narrow it down to one. Have 2, 3 that are close to one another. Before you apply to a school, make sure you visit the department. Look at what the professors are doing. Read a couple of their papers. PhD application is stressful. It's stressful. And let me tell you, you can't expect that I've done 3 applications, 1 will work. I did 100. For my PhD, 100. But it worked out in the end. But I keep adding to my pile. I keep looking for, can I go to this conference? Can I send an article out? What can I do to boost my profile? I keep thinking about that. Oh, I was collecting different skill sets. Let me know different things that are useful for the labs. Look, there is already a lot of limitation that people place on us as Africans. When people see your writing sample, before they even read it, can writing for an organization, newspaper, yes, it's good. Writing for KPMG, that's going to work. Look, people already believe as an African you can't write. They already believe as an African you don't know the technical skills. The only way to shut them up is to show them. Your SOP is your marketing material. There is no room for humility. Bring your best game. Remember your hook, the first story. Remember your research interest. Remember how you want to show that that school is the right person for me, is the right place for me. Some of the professor, what they do, how it connects to what you know. And lastly, you can't do this without having skill sets. You can't do this without having writing sample. Start to create some writing samples that can be useful for you today. My hope is that this conversation that we've had for 30 minutes will help you on your journey to landing your full funding, whether for master's or PhD. I want to touch on this quickly. If you're applying for a program that is non-research based, the story is very similar. You need your compelling story. In the case of in your case, you have to show what have you done research-wise. Show what you have done working, your work experience. Demonstrate it. If connect it to a research interest or connect it to an area that the school is working on. It doesn't have to be research-based. And then make sure that you show something in terms of technical competencies. You have these technical competencies. If you are doing a master's, for master's, you may showcase courses that you have taken in the past that will support this master's program. For PhD, you don't need to talk about courses. You've passed that stage. You need to showcase your research, you showcase all of that. For master's, you can show courses that you've taken before that would help you here. You can do that. Writing sample is very important for PhD. It's critical for PhD. You should have writing samples. Now, if you're in fields that require portfolios, you may want to get a portfolio together. Any question that can help you clarify before we go today? You can't hear me anymore. Is that true? Can you guys still hear me? Okay, I'm waiting for any question you might have regarding how to write a compelling SOP so I can help you answer it. We can hear me. Okay, you can hear me. Thank you all. All right, any question on how to write SOP? Well, if there are no questions on SOP, statement of purpose is different from personal statement. Statement of purpose is very professional, is direct, is straight to the point. You stay professional on topic. Personal statement, you connect it to you personally. You connect it to a lot of personal story. Now, in your statement of purpose, if you have, let's say you have a third class, and for that third class, you want to really explain that you are now different, you are free to share about that in your personal statement. You are also free to add a bit of it to your statement of purpose, not too much. Being a co-author on a journal, does it count? Yeah, if you're a co-author, like you want to be able to say what your contribution is if you're not the first author. Yeah, any other question? Are there specific publishing house you recommend? There are several, so it depends on your field. So publishing house for different things. There are publishing house for accounting related objective. There are publishing houses for computer science. It depends on what field you're in. Yeah. But I believe that if you go on Google or even go on ChatGPT right now to give you a publishing house that would accept your papers, you'll see gazillion of them. Yeah. All right, any other question? Okay, I don't see more question here. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. I'm very excited for your journey. I believe that you will do well. And if you need any support with supporting your SOP, understanding how to do SOP, how to position your CV, how to position your application, how to write code email to a professor so they reply, we have a course that we sell for that. And we have a program that we offer where we actually give you a mentor who walk you through all of these processes. Your mentor is assigned to you and work with you directly with what is the research interest to select, what country you should look at. They work with you to write your SOP. They review your CV for you. They help you understand the gap in your resume so that you would know these are the gaps that I need to fill, whether competencies wise or others. Feel free to reach out to us in the DM. We'll be happy to help you. Otherwise, all the best, everybody. I'm rooting for you. Let me tell you, PhD scholarships, they're not easy, but we do our best. And I believe that if you do it strategically, you will get in just like the rest of us who have been ahead of you. All the best, everybody. Thank you for joining me today. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. And this is goodbye. Thank you, everybody.